Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the show. I'm just back from Out and Equal. You saw I posted a lot about it on social media, and that was intentional because I want to remind people that we're here. We're not going anywhere. We had such an incredible time being in community. Fortune 500 leaders globally across all different sectors, over 4,000 people together in Seattle. So in this episode, I want to share the 5 shifts to courageous leadership that surfaced for me as I was paying attention to the biggest takeaways that I was seeing at Out and Equal. And so this conversation and this podcast is for every leader, and it's going to help you better connect with your team and leave you with actions to try, experiments to play with, to be better and bigger and braver and heart-led. So let's set the stage because the challenge we face is real and it hurts. This is not an abstract concept or a political debate. This is a real backlash that threatens queer lives, okay? Hateful laws, teachers fired, books banned. And here's why it feels so heavy, because we have gained more in the last 20 years than in the previous 100. And because of that, we have more to lose now than ever before. The stakes feel precious. And I believe this is actually less a resistance and more a reckoning. The universe is inviting all of us to ask, how do I want to be in this world? And what do we really stand for? Listen, I work with tech and AI leaders each day. We are building a new world, okay? We are seeing this reality in rooms every day. There is no doubt in my mind that the next 10 years are going to feel unlike the last 100. Now, that said, the headlines are not the whole story. Yes, they're written to create urgency. Okay, our feeds reward outrage because outrage is monetizable. So if you are exhausted, maybe there's nothing wrong with you, actually. You're human in an age that is loud by design. But I tell you this, courage is actually contagious. And in the words of Aaron Eurydice, the CEO of Out and Equal, we are not defined by the fear around us, but by the courage among us. Which is why today I want to offer these 5 shifts I'm taking with me from what I learned at Out and Equal. I wrote them down. I reflected on them on the plane and over the past couple of days, and I want to get them out to you. Are you ready? Okay, good. Take a breath and let's begin. The first shift is from apathy to love. I love the words of Dina Fidas, Chief Program Officer at Out and Equal. You know, she said, the opposite of love is not hate, it's apathy. Apathy. Giving up, checking out, disengaging. That apathy, it eventually hardens into despondency, okay? We're seeing it everywhere. How many times have we heard someone say, oh, for my mental health, I've checked out. Like, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not watching the news. I don't do any of that. Now, look, I get it. I don't watch the news every night either. I'm paying attention. I'm setting boundaries. I have to be mindful of my phone. Okay, boundaries are good. In fact, I love Prentice Hemphill's definition of boundaries, which is boundaries are the distance with which I can love you and me at the same time. I think that that's beautiful. Boundaries are love. But there's a difference between that and total disengagement. Okay, disengagement is different because when disengagement becomes a habit, you start to isolate. You disconnect then, and you end up numbing. And then it slides into this lonely place of, I got mine, you get yours. Every man for itself. It turns into the Squid Games, y'all. And you know what? This ain't the Squid Game, okay? This is real life. There's a reason why we're obsessed with these movies. I'm serious, though. Okay, they're mirrors. They show us a world where survival replaces solidarity. But the truth is we're independent beings, okay? We rise together, we fall together. And when we forget that, when we drift into apathy, that's dangerous. So the real question is why? Why do we do that? Why does that happen? It's because it's a lot. It's overwhelming. And I get it. I've been there. In fact, the whole Braving Big Tech project exists because my anger and therefore my apathy eventually was trying to tell me something, and I wasn't listening. So I told that story so you can see yourself in it. Ask yourself, what are the emotions in your life trying to tell you? What pattern might you notice once you slow down and listen? You can't steamroll over the apathy, okay? You can't numb it, drink it, or shop it to death. You actually have to feel it and ask, what is underneath? Take a breath. Notice the apathy. Where is it in your body? And ask the question, what is underneath? It's many things, but among the big ones I've witnessed in many of you that I support, first, fatigue. You're seeing the same old playbook play out. The Anita Bryant rhetoric just dusted off. And I love what Stephanie said with a trans remix. We're tired of that. There's a lot of fear. What's going to happen to our marriages? November 7th, they're going to review gay marriage. Yes, I'm concerned about that. What's happening to our marriages, our rights, our health care? There's an avalanche of crisis headlines, lots of noise. It paralyzes us. And when fear and fatigue take over, what do? We armor up to self-protect. What else can we do, right? That's what it feels like. So we armor up to self-protect. And that armor works for a while until it begins to cut us off from the compass inside us. It cuts us off from our hearts. And that's difficult because right now there is no map. We don't know how this is all going to pan out. There is no map, but there is a compass. And that compass is your heart. And if you've been in my class, you know the tool. You know the tool, big, brave heart. Here's a quick version. So shrug your shoulders, both feet on the floor, and just take a breath. Big. I want you to remember that you're bigger than the swirl. So notice what's making you feel small right now. Name it. 2, brave. In that inch of space between you and the feeling, choose the next brave move. Not all the moves, just the next one. And then 3, heart. Breathe into your chest, soften, and wait for a full body yes. Your heart tells you the truth. Your panic doesn't. We don't make good decisions in fear. That's the tool. Big, brave heart, and you can use it in the hallway, camera off on Zoom, sitting in traffic, wherever you feel yourself disconnecting. Okay, so we begin to practice this first shift by asking a simple question. What part of your life feels numb right now? And what's one small, brave act of re-engagement you can take this week? Let's go. That's shift 1. Next is shift 2. Shift 2 is from anger to action. Anger isn't bad, actually. It's a signal. And when something strikes that chord and you think, listen, this is not right, that's your cue to listen, not to explode and not to repress, okay? Listen. The work is to channel it. I want you to hear the words of Larry Kramer. I think of him as I process this shift, okay? He's a writer and activist who refused silence during the AIDS crisis. In this clip, you'll hear he's speaking to queer leaders who were bickering over small things while a plague was taking lives. Have a listen.
We are in the worst shape we have ever been in. Nothing is working. None of that shit you saw on that screen is working. None of the shit that is in the pipeline that these people are studying is working. You heard what George Bush said when we went to Kennebunkport. He's more inclined he feels more sorry for the unemployed. That's what we're in. Every person I talk to in every city, in every agency, gay, straight, AIDS, is as despondent as they can possibly be. Nobody knows what to do next. Nobody knows what to do next. And we have a president who cares more about the unemployed and pits people against each other, just like these people are doing, than he cares about us. And I say to you, in year 10, as we face a figure of 40 million infected people, the same thing I said to you in 1981 when there were 41 cases. Until we get our acts together, all of us, and until we learn to plug in with each other and fight and make this president listen, we are as good as dead.
That's anger transformed, okay? From heat into propulsion. You feel that? Institutions looked away during AIDS, and still people rose up. That anger actually became a movement, and it became fuel. So when anger shows up for you, maybe you don't post right away. Don't scorch the earth, okay? Breathe. Ask, what needs to change here? And what's my next brave move? And I love what Dina also says. Anger means something is striking your chord of indignation. That voice inside saying, this isn't right, that is your compass calling, okay? Channel it into a passionate pursuit of what needs to change. Just like Dina, my mom taught me that, there isn't really a trauma, trial, or challenge I haven't brought to her. And every time I do, she takes it in, she acknowledges and validates me. And then she says, okay, and now what? What are we going to do about it? Where do we go from here? How do we take responsibility? And that's how you move from anger into action. So here's a coaching moment for you, okay? How you take action on this. Ask yourself the question, what's striking your chord of indignation right now? And also maybe what's one barrier you can remove this week so someone else can be safer, seen, or freer. That is what anger in service of action might look like for you. Shift 3 is from fear to faith. When fear takes over, what's going to happen to our marriages, our rights, our healthcare? When that happens and we get completely identified with the incessant stream of thoughts in the mind, we disconnect from our compass, our heart. It literally armors up and we self-protect and shut down. We cannot be seen or heard or validated. We see this in the research, and that's not who we're here to be. There's no map for this next decade, but there is this compass, this heart. That's big, brave heart in practice. That's faith. Not certainty, but courage in the absence of it. And when I need to remember what courage sounds like, okay, especially in these times, I always listen to Harvey Milk. And so I want to share these words with you. Hear the words of the first openly gay man elected in public office in California. He knew his life was at risk. He went into his kitchen, pressed record, and left this message in case he was assassinated. He was later shot and killed by a closeted colleague. And this is what he left us. Have a listen.
This is Harvey Milk speaking from the Kramer store on the evening of Friday, November 18th. This is to be played only in the event of my death by assassination. I fully realize that a person who stands for what I stand for, an activist, gay activist, becomes the target or the potential target for somebody who is insecure, terrified, afraid, or very disturbed themselves. Obviously, as what should happen if there is an assassination, and there is cannot prevent some people from getting angry and frustrated and mad, but I hope they will take that anger and frustration and madness instead of demonstrating or anything of that type. I would hope they take it to positive, and I would hope 5, 10, 100,000 would rise. I'd love to see every gay doctor come out. I'd love to see every gay lawyer, every gay judge, every gay bureaucrat, every gay architect come out, stand up, let the world know that would do more to end prejudice overnight than anybody could have imagined. I ask for a movement to continue, for a movement to grow, because last week I got that phone call from Altoona, Pennsylvania. In my election, gave somebody else, one more person, hope. And after all, that's what it's about. It's not about personal gain. not about ego, not about power. It's about giving those young people out there in Altoona, Pennsylvania, hope. Gotta give them hope.
That piece gets me every time because you can feel the weight in his voice, the knowing that even in fear, he chose hope. That's what I mean when I say fear to faith. Faith isn't blind optimism. It's action with the heart still open. So here's how we practice this shift. Ask yourself, what's one conversation you have been postponing because of fear? That's your next brave move. That's faith right there. Shift 4 is from division to bridge. The truth is, there is sadness under all of this for all of us, no matter what side you are on. We know better. We have experienced better, and we are disappointed. And as Dina Fadas says, you can only be disappointed by people you expected more from. That means you still see something in them. It means there's still a bridge to find here. So the real question and invitation for all of us is, can we invite people into the uncertainty? Can we move from what are you going to do to what are we going to do? Because chances are they're just as overwhelmed as you are. And, you know, as Dina reminds us, we should take nothing for granted and write no one off. Why? Even though it seems like they're angry, people are angry, yes. But we have sourced allyship from the most unlikely of places, okay? Businesses prove it. ERGs succeeded by partnering with companies, not yelling at them. I was able to lead Google's ERG by partnering very deeply and closely with the organization, not by challenging them. You know, we have this funny thing where we went from, you know, why are corporations in pride? We hate that there are corporations in pride, to all of a sudden asking, well, where are the corporations? Where did they go in just a few years? We have to inspect that and have some self-reflection. Okay, we can't burn the bridge and then complain there's no crossing. So how do we bridge? That's the real question. How do we bridge? In order to get there, we need to talk about Professor Kenji Yoshino. Our community counts on him to be at the vanguard of sense-making. He has a new book coming out with his co-author called How Equality Wins, and I'm hoping to have him on the show soon. He lays out 7 strategies for how the practice of DEI can evolve and emerge stronger. And it was beautiful because it was the first time I had ever really seen it articulated in such a way that it felt expansive and balanced and hopeful and really clear about how we can help everybody win. Now, I think the single biggest shift he proposed that really moved me and hit me hardest was when he said we have to move from cancel culture to coaching culture. Cancel culture to coaching culture. That we shouldn't fear debate, okay? That we have the better arguments, and that shame needs silence and secrecy and judgment to grow. We know this from the research. Shame is not a social justice tool, and we should not be shaming people. Cancel culture and the culture where we shame people and call them out is hurtful and is not working. Coaching instead builds durable belief. Okay, this is where we need to distinguish the moderates from the extremists, because we have bucketed all of them in one category, but the overwhelming supermajority of people are moderate. They agree in the what, not necessarily in the how. Not everybody is an extremist, okay? We need to think through where we need to support dissent and encourage curiosity. This is also where we must go, right? To where the pain is too. There are other groups who are not captured today, like working class folks, people of faith, struggling men. 3 out of 4 suicides are men. 98% of all shootings, men. Men are struggling. We need to be able to ask, where can there be a better win and a bigger win for everyone here? And that was the push that Kenji offered, which I thought was so beautiful. Now, we have to name the emotional trap of this moment, okay? You've seen it. The post that says, if you don't agree, unfriend me, boo. We've reduced people to the other. We spend so much time trying to prove how much better and smarter we are than they are, okay? As Aaron said, what faster way to end dialogue than declaring there is no debate and no common ground? Certainty looks like strength. I know it looks like strength, but the truth is it is often fear. And that fear, it shuts down what we need. The messy, uncomfortable, essential conversations real change requires. So we must shift here and not use shame as a social justice tool. It does not work. Teresita Richards, Chief People Officer at Patagonia, gave us a picture of what that shift looks like. She said, my coming out story is really an inviting in story. Inviting in is ongoing, relational, chosen. She said, we need spaces where leaders can work things out. If it is not challenging, the truth isn't really showing up. That is coaching culture in action. It's exactly why I created this platform. Leaders need a place to work things out in public with heart and some humor. And as Duncan Dixon, who is CFO and longtime ally, at Experian, reminded us, allyship, it's not a badge, it's a behavior. And so when the tension hits, he listens, he moves into listening. He spent a lot of time focused on articulation of powerful listening. Can you ask more questions before you make a statement? Or when someone missteps, can you repair privately and support publicly? That's what it looks like to keep bridges from burning under pressure. So here's a question for you as you implement this shift. Who's a moderate you've been treating like an extremist? What's one curious question you can ask them this week? And maybe where is there pain in your organization that your DEI lens is missing? What's the bigger win for everyone if you get this right? Okay, that's big. Last, Kenji left us with a zoom out that really hit for me. He said, we often call these unprecedented times. When you zoom out in the context of equality, slavery, Jim Crow, criminalization of same-sex relationships, women's rights, the theft of indigenous land, in every one of those eras, equality advanced. Equality advanced. We won every time. And so, yes, the stakes are high. They've always been high. That's okay, because we come from people who turned fear into fuel. Last, shift 5, from noise to awareness. If there's one thing you take away from all of this, let it be this. Self-awareness is the meta skill, okay? We don't need louder leaders. We need leaders who can pause, listen, and notice what's actually happening inside of them before they act, okay? Before. That's the key part. Notice what's actually happening inside of you before you act. You've got to know who you are. You got to know why you're showing up like a maniac when you are, in fact, showing up like a maniac. And I say that with love because I have been there. The Hulk comes out, and bitch, when the Hulk comes out, watch out. You got to understand why some people emotionally hook you and others don't. Why you can have a good discussion with one person but shut down with another. That's not a flaw. That's your curriculum, okay? That's the Earth School, baby. That's what you got to learn and use as cues to figure out who you are. That's the work of awareness. And if you run a team or lead a division or hold influence inside a company, let me tell you something. You should be paying for your people to have a coach. Think about it for a second. Athletes have coaches because they're expected to perform at the edge of human capacity. You would not invest in a sports team that doesn't have a coach. One of my closest friends from elementary school is a Yankee. He has multiple coaches. Leaders also are performing at the edge of human capacity. You cannot build emotional stamina in a vacuum. Leaders, I believe, really do need a sandbox. They need a place to practice and prepare and recover. And that's what coaching gives you. That's why I'm on this mission. It gives you a space to rehearse the hard things before they're live, okay? Courage is more of a function of preparation and presence than improvisation. And we talk a lot about urgency right now, but what we really need is productive urgency, meaningful, useful urgency, intentional urgency, relevant urgency, not urgency for the sake of urgency. We don't need more action. We need more impact. Right now, there's a lot of action over impact. We're busying our teams and our people and stuff just to ship something. I believe now as a leader, your number one job is to create time where none exists. You have to learn how to create time where none exists. Create the pause. That's why Big Brave Heart is so important for me. Build in a weekly block on your calendar. I call it a courage block. Okay, try that, a one-on-one with yourself. 30 minutes just to slow down and work the conversation before you have it. Actually play with it. That's where your best leadership comes from. Stillness before the speech. And I keep coming back to what Dina tells us, okay? Writing the next chapter, she says, requires equal parts strategy, imagination, and heart. Yes, we do have more to lose now than ever before. And I understand it feels precarious because we've gained so much. But we can do this because the through line of everything we heard at the summit is courage. As Jean Marie Navetta said, build your courage to start saying what needs to be done. And so, this is your first experiment for this shift. Right now, open your calendar and schedule your courage block. Another thing you can do is name one conversation you'll prepare this week. Who will you invite in so you can work the hard thing out before it breaks you? Okay? That's how we move from the noise to awareness. So there you go, 5 shifts. I want to close this with gratitude for all of you for being here. I want to close this with gratitude for Out and Equal for making the space to practice this work with leaders, to have me there on site as a coach to be able to provide support for all of these leaders. To every leader who's trying, I mean truly trying to lead with more heart and less hurt, to lead with an open heart and not an armored heart. And I have to say, queer people have always been here. And we're not going anywhere. Think of Harvey Milk, Bayard Rustin, Audre Lorde, Whitney Houston, baby, even, Abraham Lincoln. Okay, we come from roots of greatness. There is a kind of queer magic in our DNA, and you can feel it. I know I can. And to our allies, thank you for being here. Tell us how we can better fight for you too. What's going on in your life? Where do you need support? Let's widen this net for everybody. Let's lower the temperature. Let's admit that we're all a little overwhelmed here and we can still choose courage. Because courage is contagious. And every act of self-awareness, every conversation you are brave in, every bridge you build, that's how the world changes. That's how it changes, one brave act at a time. So listen, thank you for listening. Thank you for your time. If this was helpful, please subscribe, rate, and share it so more leaders can find it, okay? Send it to your Out and Equal crew, your ERG, your exec sponsors. And if you want me in the room for a keynote leadership lab, maybe some team coaching or a sprint, DM me. Use the links in the show notes. Use the links in the show notes or DM me on Instagram. I got you. Shoot me an email. Keep being big and brave and heart-led. I'll see you out there. Love you all. Thank you for your time. It's been a blessing. Let's go, baby. Make those 5 shifts. The Let's Go with Julio show is produced and edited by Rikki Gunton, and our theme song is You Are the One by Nick Deutsch. Don't forget to subscribe and share it with a friend or two who could benefit. You know who they are, baby. I see you. I love you. Let's go, baby.